All right, everybody, Harry here. So today we're going to talk about something that's pretty interesting. We're going to talk about what technically saved the Ninja Turtles. So, if you need to recall, the original Ninja Turtle series is the 80s and 90s cartoon. First movie, second movie, third movie, the live action show, the anime, and of course we also have the Mirage comics and the Archie comics. So this is pretty much the original span of the series, okay? So to give you an idea, the Mirage comics came first, and issue number 1, there's like a whole story behind it. So Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird decided they were going to make their own comic. They ended up making a gag comic called Ninja Turtles. Well, they decided to make it serious. And I don't want to explain the full origins because everyone's done that. But they borrowed money, put advertisements in the comic book advertising magazines, and pretty much you could pre-order or order issue number 1. Well, issue number 1 blew up, and they didn't expect it to. And they were able to pay back their loan and then have some more. So they started working on issue number 2 because now people wanted issue number 2, and they started re-releasing issue number 1. So they pretty much worked their way up through everything. Well, the fame caught the attention of others, and they pretty much had a guy confront them, and he wanted to get in on the action, and he pretty much became their like PR agent in a sense. And he struck a deal with Playmates, the toy company. And Playmates struck a deal with Wolfenstein, the actual animation company. So they made the toys and the cartoon pretty much side by side. Well, the cartoon blew up, absolutely blew up, and that's what funded the 3 movies and the live action show. And then it got so popular that it ended up moving to other countries like Japan, the United Kingdom. Yeah, you see the pen sign? Yeah. You see how massive this comic is? Look at my hand to that thing. And of course, Italy and other places that are along those lines. So pretty much the series absolutely blew up over time. Well, one of the things that really was interesting about that was that Kevin and Peter did not come from money. And they thought that their success was a fluke. And they were very proud of what they did. Like, Peter a lot, Kevin mostly, because Kevin was like 10 years younger than Peter. And not to get too much into all the nitty-gritty stuff that ended up happening going on over the years. Well, one of the things that they did was they started a foundation to help artists break out into the industry. And they also started collaborating with other artists on purpose. So Kevin and Peter knew enough about the comic industry to know that Marvel and DC screwed over a lot of people all the time. It's literally what they're famous for. They're still famous for it. Still famous for it. And it's actually one of the reasons why I don't like Stan Lee personally. Like, I do not like him as an individual, because if you read about what he used to do to people, it's dirty. It's very dirty. And he's tricked and manipulated a lot of people over the years. Well, Peter and Kevin, they started doing this thing, and they started bringing on other artists into their fold. And this started off small. They started bringing on friends. And then around issue number 10, I think it's 10, they started like actually collaborating with other artists. And they did Cerebus before all his controversies. Let's not get into that. So they did Cerebus, and then that pretty much opened the floodgate to all these collaborations. Now, what was interesting is that during the 80s, of course, they collaborated with Stan Saki, or Yusaki Yojimbo, but they started collaborating with a lot of no-name artists, or artists that were like indie fame. So we have collaborations with like Flaming Carrot, The Last of the Viking Heroes. Of course, we got Gizmo, because, you know, best comic ever. But as time went on, they also collaborated with, like, Wildcats and Skeleton Warriors, and, of course, Savage Dragon. So, during that time frame, they were very pro-artists. Very pro-artists. Well, around, I believe it was 2007, the Peter Laird, who had controlling interest in the Mirage and Ninja Turtle comic industry, decided that he was going to sell his company to pretty much Nickelodeon, is pretty much who he sold it to. So, I forgot the parent company off the top of my head, but let's see. Now take a moment. Viacom. So Viacom is the parent company of Nickelodeon, MTV, and a bunch of other studios. They're pretty much a multimedia company, kind of like Warner Brothers. So he struck millions of dollars in this deal to sell Ninja Turtles to Viacom and pretty much transferred everything they could over to Viacom. Now, the only issues that they had over the years is that certain characters that were created for Ninja Turtles, they let the original artists keep the rights to them. And this came into a lot of situations like the Mutanimals, which are like characters that were designed for the Archie comics. They let the original creators keep a lot of those rights. And so Viacom had a lot of mess to go through in a sense, because Mirage never really like went after those characters again. And matter of fact, the animation company had the rights to like Bebop and Rocksteady and Krang. And so it's like Viacom kind of walked in on a mess, and they did a lot of organizing and shuffling, but they're able to put their house back in order, in a sense. So Ninja Turtles was kind of like a dying-ish franchise. Like, the fans were still there, but it wasn't really popular with like everyday people. Well, what ended up happening was they ended up making a new series, the 2012 series, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it aired on Nickelodeon. Phenomenal series. Phenomenal. It is really good, and I would really recommend it. It's pretty deep. The only thing is the ending was kind of questionable, because they just pretty much like made an ending, but everything else was very, very good. Well, Ninja Turtles started picking back up. Almost sneezed. So they started picking back up, but when we really, really knew that Ninja Turtles was back as a franchise is when they started collaborating again. So by collaborating, I mean they started striking better deals. See, the old deals were like with indie people, right? Okay, so you got like Creed here, for example, which a lot of you have never heard of. But a lot of new deals. So you got like celebrity promotions is some of the stuff they started doing. But when we knew the exact moment that Viacom was going to be successful with the Ninja Turtles was this. They struck a collaboration deal with DC Comics to have Ninja Turtles crossover with Batman. And they didn't just do this one time. The series was so popular, made so much money, they did it 3 times. They made toys for this collaboration. They made an animated feature for this collaboration, which is extremely good. Extremely good. And they also did the collaboration in 2 different styles, in 2 different series. You see, this one is the IDW Comics Ninja Turtles, which is a really good series if you ever want to look into that. And then this one is the 2012 Ninja Turtles, doing a collaboration with Batman the Animated Series. So you actually have a moment where Viacom spent millions of dollars, a very massive deal, to buy Ninja Turtles from pretty much a privately owned company. And then that show, they ended up like spending a little bit collaborating, trying to figure out what they wanted to do. So they struck a comic deal with IDW, and then they made a 3D animated show 2012. Both of those successes blew up because IDW's Ninja Turtle Comics is their most popular brand. Their most popular brand. It does a lot of money for them, and it's really good. And then the 2012 cartoon revived the toys, and it revived the series. They struck a deal again with Playmates, so the toys were selling off the shelves. Kids were buying these Ninja Turtle toys like they were nothing. It was nice. It was nice to see another Ninja Turtles renaissance with little kids. And then we really knew they struck gold when this started happening. This IP was up there with the big ones. It was up there with Batman. It was up there with like Iron Man and all this kind of stuff. And they started doing more collaborations, which is great because they started doing more crossovers, which is what they used to do back in the day. That's stuff that Peter and Kevin used to love doing. So it is really neat to see that clearly this franchise was saved. And Viacom did everything in their power to make this into the best series they could. And deep down, I appreciated that. I appreciate the fact that we got back to our roots and Ninja Turtles returned to being Ninja Turtles. It's like, yeah, there are collaboration games. Like, yeah, they're in advertisements. Like, yeah, it feels like, it is what it is. But the fact that Ninja Turtles is being brought back in the same kind of manner that Kevin and Peter originally did, that's awesome. The IDW comics brought back a lot of the original artists. They brought back a lot of the characters from Archie. They struck deals with a lot of the people that made characters with the Archie comics so they could bring them into the IDW universe. They brought back Bebop and Rocksteady, so they were talking to the animation company again. They did phenomenal work. And they made some of the best stories I've ever seen. Ninja Turtles 100, one of the best. This Batman comic, one of the best. So the fact that we have Ninja Turtles as a franchise, it's not really doing too good right now. But it is back to its roots. And the fans are happy. And then kids can enjoy what a lot of us grew up with the same elements that we grew up with. All right, everybody, Harry here, peace, and check out what saved the Ninja Turtles universe. You'll really enjoy it.